I'm going to start off talking about Greg Betty. Now, I think, I could stand corrected, but I think Greg's the first business inductee that we have. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think so. And all you need to do to understand a little bit more about Greg's current activities is to Google IntelliWare. Shocked the hell out of me. Got a great website. Greg wrote a few words of his own, and what seems to go through the theme of Greg's life is building stuff. And he goes on to talk about the little things he did when he was young to drive his parents crazy, and then he moved on from there and made his life ambition to build stuff. And he's really in the software development, system design area. So for us older guys that didn't go through with computers, he's one of these computer geeky guys that has gone on to achieve great success in business. And for all us older people, he's actually helping to look after us because he's one of the guys that was behind the health watch at Shoppers Drug Mart, so we don't mix up our Alzheimer's pills with other medications. So Greg has developed a company. It's in Toronto. It has, I believe, approximately 70 employees, and they're just knocking the lights out. His time here, though, he wasn't just one of those science guys, math and science guys. He also loved sports. And Ed Sargentson remembers a moment with Greg, and I have a few words to read from Ed in a moment. His company has gone on and has, their motto is always lead, and I think that's what Greg has demonstrated in his life from what I can ascertain. This man has gone out, sought an objective, achieved that objective, and gone on to newer and higher objectives, and he's quite a role model for our students and in business. Now, these are the words that your old buddy Sarge sent me and asked me to read in. Greg, I'm sorry I'm missing your induction into the case of distinction. You are a most deserving recipient. I cherish my relationship with you as a teacher, a coach, and a friend. It does not surprise me that you are so successful, as you were a student who always strove to be successful. No matter what the challenge you took on in your life, failure was never an option. Whether it was on the football field, in class, the basketball court, or the challenge of the ski hills, you always applied your reservoir of efforts and abilities. The student you were and the person you now are did not happen by chance. You were surrounded by all the ingredients necessary to become a success. The ingredients I refer to are a loving and caring family, the ability to choose such wonderful friends, the reciprocal relationship of respect that you had with your teachers, and your unending desire to succeed. I close with the play call. You'll remember this one. Trips left, end delay left, result, touchdown. Congratulations, Greg. I'd like to introduce Greg Betty.
John, committee, thank you very much for the kind words. It's funny, the note from Sarge is actually scaring me. I thought for sure it would just say, Greg, you got fat. People who know Sarge would definitely agree with that. It's a tremendous honor. I thank the selection committee from the Case of Distinction, in particular Mr. Allison and Al Sutherland, who actually nominated me for this process. It's a tremendous honor. I'm actually humbled and very flattered by it. You were talking about how hard it is to describe what I do. It is I'm reminded by that by my kids, Jeff and Sarah. I was in our office a couple weeks ago with Jeff and Sarah, and the developers. We have about 80 some odd developers. In our office, we have tons of toys. There's footballs, and we have bubble hockey and foosball and all sorts of fun stuff. So the kids actually really like coming. But Sarah was getting more and more perturbed, and I couldn't quite put my finger on why she was getting annoyed. And then finally we stumbled upon one of the rooms. I don't know if you folks have seen the movie Cars, but there's little car characters, and there's a little character called Luigi. There was a little wind-up toy that Jeffrey really likes. So Jeffrey goes, "Hey, Dad, they've got Luigi." And all of a sudden, Sarah, that was not for Sarah. She said, "Dad, does anyone here do any work?" and then immediately went on to talk about my wife said, at Mommy's office. They do real work. They do construction. They build buildings. So all we do is play with the computer all day. And I managed to turn playing with the computer all day into a career. I'm really proud of what we've accomplished in IntelliWare. It's been a very successful business. And the culture that we've been able to build up with the toys and lots of hard work has been very enjoyable for me. And the folks I get to work with are tremendous. We've built HealthWatch. It's hard to make it real for folks. We do a whole bunch of transaction processing systems, which is fancy words for debit and credit accounting, making sure things add up, essentially, for large financial institutions. And the one I'm most proud of is what we've done with Shoppers Start Mart with HealthWatch. We've made some impacts in other areas as well. Most notably, I think will ultimately be our legacy is thinking around new ways of doing software development. And roots of that are actually back here at KCSS. And I'm thrilled to see Mr. Sanderson, my original computer science teacher here today as well. There's lots of thank yous, and I'll try and get through them quickly to get to the other inductees. I kind of break it up into three loose categories: my original family, my current family, and my KCSS family. So my original family, Mom, Dad, Jennifer, you couldn't have a better family. Yeah, Sarge hinted at it. Mom was very involved with the school, knew all the teachers, but just at the right level. She didn't intrude too much to make it awkward, but it was good enough and I always knew that she was watching in the classrooms. The one other thing about Mom is she always had this poem, Good, Better, it was a cheesy poem. We used to joke about it, and I'll let my sister finish it off because we used to have a lot of laughs at it. It was good, better, best, never let it rest until the good is better, and then the better's best. So we used to laugh at this, but to this day, I can't get that poem out of my head, and if I'm working on something, it's always echoing in the back of my mind. My love of building stuff came from my dad. He's an engineer's engineer and can build anything. Dad's much more successful in the real physical world than I am, and so as a result, I had to retreat to computers. And my sister was a wonderful friend all through high school, university, and continues to be. In fact, when we had Sarah, my first daughter, Jennifer, came to live with us and help us, which was just tremendous. My current family, I guess my chosen family in many ways, I have to thank my wife a ton. Karen, in her own right, is a very successful entrepreneur as well. She's been extremely supportive. We've been together since we started IntelliWare, and there's been a lot of canceled summers, canceled holidays, a lot of extra risk. And she never wants to just get a real job, which is very, very nice. And of course, my two kids, who I love dearly. The other person that's not in the room that I need to mention is Bruno Schmidt, and our folks know him. He's my best friend and business partner. Really, all of the success of IntelliWare, Chris knows him very well as well. We're all roommates at school. He deserves as much credit for IntelliWare as I do. My KCSS family, my goodness, it's such a thrill to see so many teachers that I had and really influenced my life. And back to Mr. McGugan, which is a complete surprise. Mr. McGugan taught me in grade 7 and grade 8, which is unbelievable. We were just sharing some memories there with Chris. My daughter is now in grade 1, and I'm getting involved with the public school system again, and I must have heard half a dozen times, you need more prep time and more, recesses are canceled and they can't get organized around just having someone out to get the kids in. And I think at the time that the teachers gave to us and made such an impact, they never unselfishly gave to us, the participation levels were unbelievable. I'll just use some examples. The Chevys there in the back would truck us around the entire province to tournaments from, I don't want to mention Tilsonburg because that was a bad example, but all over. They'd take you home, they'd drive you home, they'd make sure you show up, they'd open the school up at 7 o'clock in the morning so we could play basketball. Mr. Campbell would sit and make math problems out of current events. the night before, prep time, he'd be sitting watching the 11 o'clock news and we'd have a mimeographed math problem that related to what was going on for us. I'll say Dr. Samarica, again, same extra effort. Anytime you needed extra work done, they were there for you. I'm sure I'm going to forget something. Mr. Ellison, what can you say about Mr. Ellison? He still continues to put in so much work at school, and did. I never actually had him as a teacher, and he joked that it's probably better that way. That's Mr. Ellison's joke. Mr. Sanderson was my first computer science teacher in about 1980 or 81. I don't know what the exact dates were. Through Mr. Sanderson, and the administration needs to be credited as well. We had a full-service computer science lab here with Commodore PET computers with 64K of RAM. I did the math. My BlackBerry cell phone has 1,000,000 times more RAM than the computers we had back then. But what we had was unfettered access. And again, on the dedication of the teacher's side, Mr. Sanderson would come in any time to cover you to do the work that you wanted to do. So, what's fascinating, so we used to have to dump the programs that we wrote out on the cassette tapes to load in floppy drives weren't even in existence then. But King City, we had to have had the first computer lab, and we didn't get computer lab access like that until late in engineering school, as far as I was concerned, which was quite remarkable. I don't even want to talk about calculus, because that was also a great contribution to Mr. Sanderson. So I think I've said enough words. I just really want to say thank you. It's a tremendous honor, and the teachers, what an impact you have made in not just our lives. I look around our rooms. Chris is here, went on to Harvard. He runs companies. Al Sutherland, another dear friend from high school, one of the nominees. He again, gold medal at Queen's and went on to Harvard. Not that Harvard's it's overrated, but that's another I can go on, but what an impact. And I just hope my kids get the same kind of experience that I had here at King.